My husband called her at 11:15 on a Wednesday night. He was in the living room. I was in bed, reading. The door was half open. He must have thought I was asleep. He was wrong about that. And he was wrong about something else too, something that would matter considerably more in the months that followed. He had forgotten I was still on the call. My name is Nora Callahan. I am 37 years old. I am an audio engineer. I work with sound for a living. I notice things other people miss: the wrong frequency in a recording, the background noise that doesn't belong, the voice in a track that wasn't supposed to be there. And on a Wednesday night in March, through a half-open bedroom door, I heard my husband tell the woman he had been seeing for 8 months exactly what he planned to do to me. He bragged. That is the word for it. He bragged about his strategy, his timeline, his confidence in the outcome. He told her I had no idea what was coming. He laughed. He had no idea I had already started recording. I want to stop here and tell you something about what it is like to be an audio engineer in that moment. Most people, hearing a conversation they were not supposed to hear, would feel one of two things: immediately panic or rage. I felt neither. What I felt was the specific trained response of someone who works with sound professionally. I got very still, and I listened. When you work with audio for a living, you learn that the most important information is often not in what is loudest, it is in what is underneath. The background frequency, the ambient noise, the thing that is present but not obvious until you know to listen for it. James was speaking clearly and confidently in my living room. He had no idea he was giving me everything I needed. Drop your city in the comments right now. Tell me what time it is where you are, and stay with me until the end, because what happened 6 weeks later when I walked into my attorney's office with 47 minutes of audio is something I have never described out loud until now. My husband, James Callahan, was a corporate sales director. He was good at his job in the specific way that people who understand persuasion are good at sales. He knew how to read a room, how to manage a narrative, how to present a version of events that served his position. He was charming with clients. He was charming in our marriage for the first 4 years. Then something shifted. I noticed it the way I notice things at work, not in a single moment, but in an accumulation of small signals that didn't fit the expected pattern. James started taking calls in the car after he arrived home, sitting in the driveway for 20 minutes before coming inside. His phone, which he had always left on the kitchen counter, began traveling everywhere with him. He started working late on Tuesday and Thursday evenings, which had never been his pattern before. I am an audio engineer. I spend my days listening to what's underneath what's being said. I know the difference between a person who is distracted and a person who is concealing something. James was concealing something. I did not confront him immediately. I want to be clear about that. I did not accuse him or search his phone or demand answers. What I did was what I always do when a track doesn't sound right. I listened more carefully. What I heard over the following 6 weeks told me enough. But it was the Wednesday night in March that told me everything. I had gone to bed early with a book. James said he had emails to catch up on. The bedroom door was half open. I was reading when I heard him walk down the hall toward the living room, and then I heard the particular quiet of a person who believes they are alone. His voice carried. Our house is not large. Sound moves through it the way sound moves without asking permission. He was talking to her. I understood that within the first 30 seconds. He used her name twice. The tone was intimate in the specific way that leaves no ambiguity. Then he started talking about me. He told her I was completely unaware. He used those words, completely unaware. He described his plan for the divorce, the asset strategy his attorney had outlined, the timeline he expected. He talked about specific accounts and specific properties and the approach he intended to take in disclosure. He told her he had positioned everything carefully and that by the time I understood what was happening, the most important decisions would already have been made. Then he said something that I have thought about many times since. He said, "She has no idea what's coming. She just sits there trusting everything." It's almost too easy. I lay in the bedroom with my book open on my chest, and I listened to my husband describe how easy it would be to take advantage of my trust. I did not make a sound. I did not move. I breathed slowly, and I let him finish. When the call ended, and I heard him walking back toward the bedroom, I closed my book, turned off my lamp, and closed my eyes. He looked in through the door. I kept my breathing even. He went to the bathroom. He came to bed. He fell asleep within 15 minutes. I lay beside him in the dark, and I thought about what I had just heard. Not with panic, not with grief, with the specific clarity of a person who has just received information that changes the shape of everything, and who knows exactly what to do with information. I called my attorney the next morning. Her name is Denise Warren, and she had been recommended to me by a colleague 2 years earlier. I had kept her number without ever expecting to use it. I told Denise what I had heard. She listened without interrupting. When I finished, she asked me one question. She asked if I had recorded it. I had not recorded the Wednesday night call. I had not been prepared for it. I had been in bed reading, and the door had simply been open. But what Denise said next changed how I approached everything that followed. She said, "In this state, one-party consent applies to audio recording. You are a party to any conversation that occurs in a shared residence. If James has further conversations that are relevant to the marital estate or to his plans for the divorce proceedings, you have the legal right to record them. I am an audio engineer. Recording is what I do. I want to be precise about what happened next because I want you to understand that I acted within the law at every step. I consulted with Denise before I did anything. She confirmed the applicable statute. She told me specifically what types of recordings would be admissible and under what circumstances. I followed her guidance exactly. Over the following 6 weeks, James had 4 more phone calls in the living room after he believed I was asleep. He was consistent about it Tuesday and Thursday evenings, always after 11, always in the living room with the door to the hallway open. I recorded all 4. The total audio across the 4 recordings was 47 minutes. James was thorough in his conversations. He discussed the LLC he had established 18 months earlier through which he had been routing consulting income. He discussed the property valuation approach his attorney was recommending. He discussed the offshore account that had not appeared on any of our joint financial documents. That last one was the most significant. I did not know about the offshore account. Denise did not know about the offshore account. It had not appeared in any of the financial records I had access to. James had apparently been quite careful about it. He had not been careful enough about what he said on the phone at 11 o'clock at night in a house where his wife was an audio engineer. Denise reviewed all 47 minutes with a financial specialist and a second attorney who focused on international asset recovery. The offshore account, once identified through the information in the recordings, was traceable through channels available to the court. The process of tracing it took 11 weeks. What they found, when the tracing was complete, was a foreign account holding $412,000. Accumulated over 3 years. Never disclosed. $412,000. In an account James had described, in his own voice, in my own living room, to a woman he was seeing while still married to me. The morning I walked into Denise's office with the recordings was a Friday in May. Denise had cleared her afternoon. Her financial specialist was there. Her paralegal had a notepad. I handed her a USB drive. She played the first recording. 40 minutes later, when it finished, she looked at me over her reading glasses. She said, "How long have you known about these calls?" I said 6 weeks. She said, "And you said nothing to him?" I said, "I had nothing to say until I understood the full picture." She nodded slowly. Then she said, "He said she has no idea what's coming." I said, "He was right. She didn't." The divorce proceedings began 3 weeks later. James's initial posture confident, strategic, the corporate sales director managing a negotiation, lasted approximately 4 days after our first hearing, when Denise submitted the recordings as evidence and requested full disclosure of all accounts, domestic and international. I was told by Denise that James's attorney had needed a recess. The offshore account was disclosed in the subsequent financial revelation. Its existence and the recordings documenting James's awareness and concealment of it shaped the entire proceeding. His attorney, whom I had never met, but whose reputation Denise described as formidable, apparently had not known about the offshore account either. James had not told his own attorney everything. The settlement reflected the full marital estate, including the offshore account, properly valued and divided. I also received a portion of the LLC income that had been routed away from our joint finances across the 18 months of its existence. I will not share the total settlement figure. I will tell you that it was not what James had planned for me to receive, and that his description of his strategy, completely unaware, just sits there trusting everything, almost too easy, did not describe the outcome he experienced. I kept working through the entire process. Audio engineering requires focus and presence and the ability to hold a lot of information in your head simultaneously while appearing calm. It turned out those were useful skills in a divorce proceeding too. 6 months after the settlement closed, James's company announced a restructuring. His division was affected. I heard this through a mutual colleague who had no idea about the details of our divorce and mentioned it in passing over coffee. I did not say anything. I listened to what she said, and then I changed the subject. Some things you learn to do quietly. You learn to receive information without reacting. You learn to hold what you know until the moment it becomes useful. You learn that the most powerful position is the one where the other person believes they are ahead of you. James spent 8 months convinced he was ahead of me. He was not. Now I want to hear from you. If you had been in that bedroom with the door half open, listening to a conversation you were never supposed to hear, what would you have done? Tell me in the comments, and tell me the city you are watching from. I want to see how far Nora's story has traveled. Subscribe before you go. More stories are coming that you will not want to miss.